Hello, Dad here. It is a Friday, 19th of April, 2019. It's been a busy week. I've wanted to uh, make something all this week, and it's been another 60 plus hour work week. And especially now with the kids moving on and more leaving the house at a rapid pace, I wanted to just kind of touch bases with them, especially since I'm working out of state and the kids are close by, but well, not all of them. They range from Arizona to Indiana to Korea, soon to Japan. Pardon me. And it's exciting. I like seeing the independence and the internal drive that they have. Anyway, a couple of things that really interested me this past week, and they both happened. I believe it was on Tuesday. The cathedral at Notre Dame in Paris. I don't want to say Paris, but in Paris, burnt. Maybe accidental. I don't know. But it's just. And it's emblematic of a larger problem that's been growing and developing in the Western world for the past decade, in large measure facilitated by the nonsense that they're spewing at the universities nowadays. They've gone from an honest examination of the past. Some of it, is full of errors and excesses and prejudices, and in large measure, especially in the humanities, they're ignoring the good that's come out, and they're stuck in some kind of weird secular humanist nihilism. They're self-loathing and totally eschew any of the good that's come from things in the past. It's very sad to me. I think, and they've adopted this weird. It transcends tolerance of other peoples and other cultures with a weird cultural relativism, where they seem unable to distinguish the difference between, and again, I don't edit, so this is kind of it's all off the top of my head. They seem to refuse to want to distinguish the difference between female genital mutilation and the type of dessert you prefer to eat after dinner. It's just, we've become a culture, not everybody of course, but the popular media driven self-loathing culture of guilt and for stupid stuff, for things that don't really matter. And when you consider that just in France alone, over the past year, there were over 875 attacks of one form or another on Christian edifices. The buildings, their sanctuaries, their iconography, the outward symbols of an inward worship. And granted, most Christians are probably lukewarm at best to their heritage and to their beliefs. Most people that profess to be Christian, they're cultural Christians. I don't see a lot of people that are trying to honestly and sincerely strive to overcome the natural tendencies of being human. Even some denominations are sublimating the divine for an acceptance of the popular and the profane as a sense of worship, or their God seems to be more a product of popular public opinion than eternal truths that have been given to the world through prophets and history, and informed by practical use. And I think that's one of the reasons that Islam as a force is kind of popular. Much of the Western cultural Christian tradition they view life and eternity as a set of possibilities instead of truths. Now, granted, we as a people, hopefully, do not kill somebody for apostasy. We don't. It's not one of the tenets of the Judeo-Christian heritage to murder somebody because they renounce their faith. And I do have a problem with any belief system that has to enforce its divine mandate by force. That is something that was instituted. You read in Isaiah and in Revelations about how Lucifer drew away many of the hosts of heaven, which are our brothers and sisters, with the silly promise of the easy way in, or up or in, however you want to phrase it, which that promise was predicated on a lie to begin with. Because in the economy of heaven, one cannot be given a free ride. There has to be something that we give in exchange for the gift that's promised of eternal life and exaltation. And in its most simple but most difficult form, what we have to give is our will. Not to be blind followers, but a honest, conscious act of volition to subordinate ourselves to the will of God. And that, for me, is a constant struggle. I'll be honest with that. It's not always easy trying to be a good Christian. It's a daily. They talk about the daily walk. It is. It's a daily walk. You have to, every day you've got to get up and you have to decide to pick up one foot, place it in front of the other, and sometimes it just feels like you're trudging along. But sometimes the journey is difficult, but the end result will ultimately be worth the effort. And so there's that. I also, on the same day that the Cathedral of Notre Dame burnt, may or may not have been accidental, which by the way, the Western Europe, by their weird sense of self-inflicted guilt and open border stupidity and cultural relativism, have allowed to happen in their lands, whether it's from Sweden to France, a little bit of Spain, I hate to say, to Germany. Not everybody's very happy with Romania, Poland, and Hungary, but they're making a stand. They helped save Austria after during the siege of Vienna. They're doing what they can to preserve Western culture, and not everybody agrees with their tactics. I get that, but the end game, I think, is what they're more concerned about. And if we're not careful and we let the cultural Marxists in our part of the Western world to continue unabated, then we're going to face a similar problem. We don't have as easy access for cultural jihad as Western Europe does. And I think about what's happening, how Charles Martel would be rolling over in his grave. He saved France from the Saracen invaders, and now a lot of people are just glibly letting that happen through a misguided sense of compassion and tolerance. Also, on that same day, it was an article from policeone.com. It was, the title of it was "American Flag Graphic on Police Cars Divides California Town." And it's the city of Laguna Beach, California. And they had a new logo of sorts. and I'm not sure if you can see it. This is, unfortunately, when I printed it up, I didn't realize there was some other junk on the thing, but there was a picture here, and I'm not sure if the camera can catch it. But it's just a graphic there. It says police with a stylized American flag, and some people in Laguna Beach are up in arms saying it doesn't represent who we are as a people. Some people say it's too aggressive. An American flag, a stylized American flag, on the side of a police car, when the men and women of the police department have taken oaths to protect and defend not just the Constitution of the United States, but the Constitution of the state in which they live in. And that just aggravates the heck out of me when people say, oh, that doesn't represent who we are. You inane, wussified pieces of Marxist crud, that to think that an American flag on an American police car in an American city in a semi-American state is not who we are. If you don't like it, go to Cuba, go to Argentina. Enjoy the benefits of your grand and glorious socialist ideals. Go there with Bernie and the other whack jobs who love to show disdain for that which has brought them great wealth and power. I have very little appreciation for people who refuse to understand their history, who refuse, and that goes both ways. I tend to be nominally right-wing. Decidedly a conservative Republican with a libertarian bent. I am very much a live and let live kind of guy. But if you refuse to acknowledge either the bad that has happened in the past, or to acknowledge the good that we have in the present, then to me you're pretty worthless as a citizen. And you really probably shouldn't be voting. I hate to say that. I heard the other day there was some kind of idea floated to allow 16-year-olds to vote. Are you out of your mind? 16s can barely understand their hormone rushes. And a lot of kids are very idealistic. But I honestly think, and at the time I remember it was around the Nixon years somewhere when they gave the 18-year-olds the right to vote, which for good or ill happened. The argument was during the Vietnam era, we allowed the kids to go out and to die for our country, and to fight for our country, but not to vote for our country. There was some merit to that. But unfortunately, the majority of the people that were 18 and received the franchise to vote had never really had a job or started a business, have had to pay taxes, had to deal with the results of their of their idealism. I just heard recently George McGovern, which back in the day he was quite the liberals' liberal, had penned an article about his bed and breakfast that he started after he retired from politics. And he was complaining about how difficult it was to run the business because of the onerous rules and regulations and taxes and everything else that conspire to crush small business people. And he said, man, it was to the effect of, I wish I had been in business before I went into politics, because now he had to live with the benefit or the end results of his naive beliefs in the powers of government to make life better. You know, what did Ronald Reagan say? Whoever his speechwriter was, writers were brilliant. You know, some of the scariest, some of the six scariest words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help you." And I've worked with wonderful civil servants. They really, most people want to do a good job. They want to be efficient. They want to help. But in the end run, excessive government interference into the personal lives of people, it is going to end in ruin. And I'm really grateful for those that have either voluntarily or involuntarily, because of circumstances, been red-pilled and are able to see, you know, what's happening to them in our matrix. Anyway, this is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I had a bit of a rant, but I really would hope that whether it's my family or other people who are watching this, that you'll be grateful for the freedoms that we still enjoy, be grateful for the promises offered to us through your particular faith system. Recently I participated in my first Passover Seder, and I found, I went into it a little bit glib, but I found that it provided really a deeper appreciation for my Christian faith. And I'm very grateful you decided to spend a few minutes with Dad. And hopefully I'll be able to be a little more coherent in the future, but several weeks of 60 plus hours working takes its toll. But I love you, and you guys have a good day, and thank you for spending time with Dad.